Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
It's March Mania at Sports Interaction. NHL, NBA, March Madness, MLB, and so much more. It's bananas. Play Pinata Picks and Minute Madness, exclusive games with insane odds you can't play anywhere else. Make your next bet with Sports Interaction. Download the app using the QR code you see at the bottom of the screen or head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to get started. 19 and older, please play responsibly.
Well,
Nothing can go right, eh?
just how the Leafs game went. I
Nothing
had to
can go
get
right.
a live stream in front of this beautiful tiger Daisy
Does it look
blanket.
like a leopard?
Whatever, same thing. That was a rough one.
Yeah, that was rough. Almost as rough as my mic being muted for the first couple seconds. It
Our
missed our
entire
whole
bit.
It muted for our whole bit. God damn. That's annoying.
Yeah, you had Robert in the chat even telling you.
Yeah, I know.
Oof.
If only it was back in time for it to matter.
Well, we started off rough, exactly like the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Exactly.
Rough start.
Yeah, it's funny. So okay, let's talk about it because the Leafs lost today, 5-3 over the Carolina Hurricane. Right
Yes.
now, it's tough because that last period. We'll talk about the positives in the game, right? That third period though kind of took a lot of the steam out of it.
Yeah,
but
I mean-
the Leafs were on the back foot to start the game off, right? Within the first minute of the game starting, they were on a fucking 5-on-3.
Yeah.
Like, how much worse can you get than that?
Yeah, and the first 30 seconds actually went pretty well. Like, I thought I even put it in my notes. I was like, good first 30 seconds, one shot, good transition, and then a penalty happened literally right as I wrote that.
Yeah.
Jake McCabe, 2 minutes for high sticking, and then the 5-on-3. And let's talk about the 5-on-3 a little.
Yeah. Let's talk about that penalty that costed us the 5-on-3. Because
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
that was bullshit.
It was bullshit.
Mhm.
If that were to be called consistently,
Yeah.
do you think it would have taken the Leafs 71 games to get a 5-on-3?
First, let's like talk a little bit about the penalty itself, right? Because he caught on a hooking penalty, right?
Yeah.
And it's understandable in the sense that that penalty and that whole hooking caused a Canes player to go down, and they had possession of the puck, right?
Yeah.
So I can understand that, but it was really soft. It looked like he was kind of off balance to begin with, and to your point, right? It's just the consistency, and it really looked like the refs understood that was a huge factor and that played a huge part into this game, and they were very soft on the Leafs for the rest of the game itself.
Did we even get another penalty after that?
Get
curious.
on a penalty?
Yeah, like
We can check it up, but there was
I
a
don't think
lot
we
that
did.
we got away with. You can check
Nylander
it
got
out in the
away with a
meantime.
couple trips.
Gio as well. In the third period, I believe.
Yeah, that was their only two power plays.
Yeah, Gio had a couple where he was kind of looking. He kind of got lucky out there, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was a makeup call or like they wanted to make up for it, but like to me that 5-on-3 was just a weird call, and it's not even that it's not a hook,
Mhm.
you know. It's just that's not called usually.
Yeah.
And it just pisses me off that there's no consistency. But I'm not going to complain about the refs this entire time.
I can understand it purely on the point that he had the puck and he went down, right? That's the only thing. But yeah, you can't deny. I mean, it was a little soft, and it did cost us this game, in my opinion, right? Because you started off the game 2-0. Like that 5-on-3 led to 2 goals for Carolina early on. Who were the 2 goal scorers? Do you remember? Stahl had the
first one, I think. And
he had the second one, I
Oh,
believe.
you had the second one?
Yeah, Stahl had the second one, and we had another on the first one. You can look at it in the meantime.
Yeah.
But after that, the Leafs kind of
Burns.
controlled that whole period. Yeah, Burns got the first one, right?
Well,
That was
yeah,
like you good wrister.
after going down 2-0, the Leafs severely outplayed
Yeah, and it wasn't
Carolina
even
Hurricanes.
it wasn't even that entire period. It bled into that second period.
The entire second period. They did not have a shot for 16 minutes.
Yeah, that I looked at it. That was from halfway through the first up until like 11 minutes left into the second period.
And
that's insane.
That whole run, we had 25 shots. So it's not even like we were just playing stingy defense. We were getting our chances. And like hats off to the Canes goalie. I'm gonna butcher his name, Konchetov. I apologize, but but yeah, he played really well because we generated a ton of chances in the slot. Like if you go to Money Puck or Natural Stat Trick and actually look at the shot chart, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Look at
half
this.
Of, scroll up there. Half of our shots are right in front of the net.
Yeah, I wish I could show you guys this.
Are right in front of the net, and it's tough. It's a tough way to lose, especially getting that third goal late in the game, and then Stefan Neusen put in the fourth, I think.
Yeah, and then afterwards the empty net. But yeah, it was interesting because we look at the play, right, and the Leafs, the Leafs controlled it drastically. Like it wasn't even it wasn't even close, right? That second period, the first period after that two goals early on, up until the third, and then halfway through the third, I think the kind of tide shifted a little bit where Carolina was getting a couple more chances, and it was just really unfortunate. I think that we look at Matthews getting that goal. We'll talk about that goal as well, right?
Yeah, and we got to talk about Matthews because do you know how many shots he put up this game?
How many?
It's I think a new record. Oh no, 15. It ties the record for the Leafs.
Yeah.
Dave Andreychuk.
They were talking about it.
Yeah, had the most, and the most in the league, I think, is Ray Bourque with 19, because of course it's Ray Bourque. He was
and Matthews had 15
shooter,
today,
and he had 15 today.
Yeah,
15 shots. He was an excellent player, and that entire line, that Jarnkrok, Marner, Matthews line, was insanely good. Like they were phenomenal. I really like that line. Like I don't want to see Jarnkrok in the bottom six. At all in the playoffs. Like he fits with that line.
Yeah, but what do you think kind of went wrong for the Leafs there? Because that goal by, I believe it was Aho who got that goal to keep the Leafs, or to get the Canes up, right? What did you see on that player? What did you see that shifted with the Leafs later on?
It's tough. Because, okay, I don't want to... So, firstly, Liljegren, I don't think looked very good in that third period specifically. I think he was a player that his holes kind of... And it's tough for him because there are guys, knocking on that door. Yeah. To take his spot in that top six in the playoffs. So Liljegren just has to probably be a lot better than that. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I don't want to blame Murray for, any of the goals. But it's a trend. It's no longer, a little bit of unluckiness. Yeah. This is... I don't know how many times in his last 10 starts he's let in 4 or more goals. Yeah. It's a worrying amount now that I can't blame him for any of them, but also, the rebounds are kind of going straight to them. And even on the third goal, he looked a little slow getting to that post when Stefan Nason, jabbed it in.
There was also a moment where we talked about the man in the net early on the season. I think it was also Murray who kind of let the net go, and then they one of the teams scored on him because of that. Yeah. Because he was intending the net. I don't know if it was Murray or Samson. I'm pretty sure it was Murray. But there was another scary chance in that third where you mentioned it too, right? Yeah. Murray went to the back of the net, and there was Carolina players flooded around there. If the puck gets bounced out to one of them, that's essentially an empty net, right? Yeah. Ridiculous. But yeah, it's interesting because, like you mentioned, I don't blame him on the goals, especially when you're on the penalty, right? And you're on a 5-on-3, and then you're still on the penalty afterwards. It's tough. You're not put into a position of success, especially when that's coming off of the first minute of the game. Yeah, you're not warmed up.
I agree, right? But you still need to stop. If it was just this game, I would not be blaming Murray at all. Yeah. But we have it in the chat. 7 of last 8, Murray's let in 4 goals. 7 of 8, and that's a long time. That is a ridiculously long time. Like, that is from here until the end of the season, pretty much.
You know what's
like,
funny? A lot of those times, like I've noticed it quite a bit too, but each time you kind of try to give him a pass because, like you mentioned, right? It doesn't seem like it's his fault. Yeah, he's not being egregious. But when you're playing in when you're going to be in the playoffs, right? Especially against Tampa, Bruins, and so on further, right? You're going to need your goaltenders to try to kind of make some spectacular saves that they don't otherwise normally make.
Yeah, and
right?
The Leafs need to be an elite team to win in the playoffs. We're facing against Tampa, and then if we beat them, we're going up probably against Boston.
Yeah.
You need elite goaltending as well.
Exactly.
I'm not going to settle for just good enough. We need him to make that extra save.
Yeah.
And, I don't blame him for this loss at all, but it's just a worrying trend.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about Liljegren a bit, because he looked a little tough.
Okay.
And I want to talk about what is your optimal D lineup, because we've had not the longest evaluation period with all of our new acquisitions, especially because Luke Shen was not playing for a couple games because he had the birth of his child.
Yeah.
And obviously stuff gets in the way.
Yeah.
You don't have a ton of evaluation period, especially when you have 9 D-men that you're trying to evaluate and pick pairings from. This was a game where Liljegren is sort of, at least when I think of how Keefe views this, that's a mistake you can't make in the playoffs. Those are pucks you need to get out of the zone, right? What is your optimal lineup? What are your top 6D on this team right now?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Liljegren, right? Because he is 23 years old. He's still a young guy, but when he was being paired with Sandin this season, last season, and whatnot, a lot of the big concerns was the split decision making where he messes up a little bit here and there, and that leads to a chance, right? So it seems like it's something that's consistent and is staying with him, and hopefully as he progresses as a player, he kind of fixes those issues, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I want to bring up. Now, the second, that Riley Brody pairing, we saw that looked consistent. That looked like a good pairing that's worked well for us now or recently, and also in the past as well.
Yeah,
Geo Hall, the thing is, Geo and Liljegren last season, they worked well together.
They did work well, but
right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
But it's tough because Liljegren, he's not making he's not the most defensive sounding player, right? And that's a huge issue. And the fact that Liljegren really he excels when he's able to control the puck a little bit and play around with it, right?
He's fantastic in transition.
Exactly.
He is so good in transition.
But Gio is not that fast, right? He's great.
Gio's not that fast. Okay, yeah.
But I don't think he's a player that especially with him getting older and whatnot, he might not be able to mesh well with that, right? So having him with Hall maybe just being a huge, chunky defensive parent that's just there to kill plays, right?
Yeah.
I think that kind of makes sense. But again, Gio Liljegren, they did work in the, previously as well. So I'm really open to that. I think the benefit with the system that Keefe has going on right now is he's tested a lot of different players and different parents together.
Yeah.
And kind of seen success with it. Right now it kind of boils down to what are you going to stay consistent with?
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, what do you think? Jake McCabe, sorry, I completely forgot to mention.
He's going to be in the top 6.
Yeah, McCabe's fantastic.
And he had that amazing rush, I think it was in the second period.
Yeah.
Where off of an offside face-off, he does a little chip-in play and then gets a really good backhand shot that generates a fantastic chance for Lafferty. They didn't score on it, but Jake McCabe, he has a spot on this roster.
Yeah. What do you think about McCabe Hall?
I don't know. We haven't really gotten any experience with them. They don't have a ton of time together.
Yeah.
I like Geo Hall.
Uh-huh.
And the reason I like Geo Hall is because, firstly, they have a ton of time together already, so we have some evaluation period with them.
Mm-hmm.
But both of them are not sheltered at all.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at their percentage of O-zone starts, it's, I think, half of their percentage of D-zone starts. That is a shutdown pairing. Those guys play heavy defensive minutes.
Yeah.
And they have good results in them. Hall has decent results. Given the context, they're actually fairly good.
I think in recent play as well, he's been playing a lot better.
I think he's been playing a lot better.
Yeah, so give credit to him as well.
Yeah. And Gio has fantastic results for the amount he plays or he starts his shifts in the D zone.
Yeah.
So I actually like that pairing. Now, I'm a fan of Liljegren in general. I think his stats showcase how good of a player he is in transition.
Yeah.
But it's times like these where if you go up against a team like Carolina or Tampa or the Bruins or whatever, the elite teams, they can, making a mistake can cost you far greater than if you make a mistake against Columbus.
Yeah.
Or Arizona. Sorry, Columbus and Arizona. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, so those big errors, like they can't happen. You look back at Travis Dermott or Alex Galchenyuk in the Montreal series, and those two mistakes that cost you the series.
Yeah.
We can't have that. And I am not saying Liljegren's not one of the best 6 defensemen on this roster, because I really think he is. But if you're prone to those big gaps, that's also why we don't like Hall that much. Like, Hall makes these big gaps that are super noticeable and end up in the back of your net. So the stats that you see that happen over a long period of time, they may be good, but if you become noticeable in that regard, it's much harder for a coach to be like, yeah, I want him in. But the question is, who do you put in other than him?
Yeah,
Luke
that's the
Schenn,
tough part.
Eric Gustafsson, Connor Timmins, or Timothy Liljegren, or Justin Hall. Like, one of those guys or two of those guys are going to get in. The other 3 are going to be out.
Yeah. Well, let's break it down a little bit to towards each of the options, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Gustafsson first.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on deploying that 7 defensemen with Gustafsson in?
Like, the only reason I would play Gustafsson in the playoffs is if we go an 11-7.
Okay.
He's too sheltered of a player to, like, put in your top 6, in my opinion. He gets good results when he's used in the context in which he's been used for his entire career.
Essentially power plays.
Yeah, exactly. Power plays and then ozone draws. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Like, he's the opposite of Gio and Hall in terms of his percentage of ozone starts. And that's the same thing with Connor Timmins.
Yeah.
Power play, ozone. But are you going to rely on that in the playoffs? Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't see Gustafsson getting time unless our power play is in the stinker and we need to generate offense. And that's perfectly fine. Like, I'm okay with adding him for that purpose. But yeah, I just don't think he's one of our top 6 D-men, because I don't think you can rely on him day in, day out, especially if you're, defending a lead. Yeah.
I don't think he should even be in the lineup to begin with. I think he was a good trial or test piece with Ryan O'Reilly out, right? But I don't think having him there as, like, essentially a specialist power play player is gonna make sense for us, right? Especially considering the fact that a lot of the times when I see him on the ice and on the power play as well, he makes, I don't know if it's nerves or maybe it's just seeing him in the wrong times or whatnot, or maybe he's still new, but it really seems like he's not able to handle the puck correctly. There's a couple times where I saw that the puck was the puck bounced a little bit, got off the stick. I think it happened in his first game when he played for the Leafs as well. But there's been a couple times where I noticed these plays, and you mentioned Liljegren kind of having these little blips and these essentially boneheaded plays. I saw quite a few with Gustafsson, and for the upside, I don't think it's worth it to have those few blips, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you have Riley, who's looking great in the power play right now, anyways. Right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a power play. Yeah, like,
exactly.
He's been doing well on the power
I
play.
don't think there's really a need to have him there, especially when Ryan O'Reilly comes back and he's healthy.
Yeah, we're not going. I don't think we're going 11-7 in the playoffs.
Exactly.
I wouldn't want to.
And that's not me having a problem with the 11-7, because that's worked before. We've seen it with Tampa, right? But it's just the players. I don't think Gustafsson being like a primary or a power play specialist is going to be successful going forward.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And the other thing is, like, Morgan Riley's already a guy that I think only really works with Brody.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't really pair him with Hall. We've seen that a lot, and I hate it.
Yeah.
You can't pair him with Liljegren too much, because, again, prone to the mistake every once in a while.
Yep.
You can't pair him with Schenn, because Schen's too slow.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't pair him with Gustafsson. Timmins sort of worked, but again, heavily sheltered minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're pretty much stuck with Riley and Brody as a pairing, which limits the amount you can really do. And it sucks because Riley is obviously an important part of this team, but, defensively, they're like to make these pairings work. It's pretty much got to be Riley Brody, and then either Gio or McCabe with Hall, and then either Gio or McCabe with one of like Liljegren, Shen, Gustafsson, whoever it may be.
Yeah.
Shen is an interesting piece to me because I think he could potentially get that third pairing slot just because of how heavy he plays. Like, we've seen him, and the dude hits like a truck.
Who would you pair him with?
Like, I was thinking maybe McCabe Shen as that third pairing rather than McCabe Liljegren. But it's also like the issue I have right now is we have 10 games left, right? I don't want to be experimenting anymore. Like, this is the time where I feel like you need to get your line set and ramp up for playoffs. Like, get in the rhythm, especially with so many new guys that require that sort of time. You know, I don't want to be line juggling all the time, right? So, like, I'm sort of iffy on Liljegren right now, getting a ton of playoff time, but I do think that transitionally, he provides a lot. Like, the stats for him paired with anyone look pretty good. Yeah. Like, he elevates pretty much everyone he's played with. In terms of expected goals, in terms of Corsi, whatever.
I think, but like the offensive side is not the we know what he is offensively.
Yeah.
We know he's a great player, right? And he's able to generate a lot of offense. The problem is the full gameplay going to translate well to playoff hockey, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest concern that we have over here, right?
Yeah.
I personally think that I think the positives outweigh the negatives with Liljegren. I would be willing to give him a chance.
I would too.
And I think he kind of deserves it until you see something egregious.
But I think short leash.
See some
short leash.
Exactly.
The main thing I don't want is a Dermott situation happening again.
Yeah.
Where it's like overtime, you're in the D zone, and then you get a defensive zone turnover that pretty much immediately results in a goal. Like, it's a high danger turnover.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want to see. And that's my worry with Liljegren. Like, you can be good the entire series, but if you make that one boneheaded play or defensive zone turnover and it ends up in the back, like, that's the series.
Jake Gardner in a nutshell. Am I wrong?
He also had great advanced stats. Like, Jake Gardner was an underrated defenseman because of how bad he was in very limited amount of situations. Like, it's brutal, but that's the game, you know? Like, it is what it is. But yeah, the defensive situation is very interesting to me. Like, for me, mine would be Riley Brody, Gio Hall, and then probably McCabe Liljegren or McCabe Shen. Okay. That would be my...
And you wouldn't experiment with Gio Liljegren again?
Gio Lilly, McCabe Hall, I would also potentially try. It
depends. Have a lot of play around.
But it depends on, like, I would start with that.
Okay.
Like, that's what I would set the lineup to be tomorrow.
Okay.
And then if someone messes up, if someone screws up, then you switch them out. Short leashes for everyone, in my opinion.
See, but the problem with the short leash at this point is, again, the fact that there's only 10 games left. Like,
but that's why I think everyone makes the short leash.
Yeah, but then when are you gonna have the stability? Let's say if they have like a clean game one, then
that's right. You kind of do have to stick it with
exactly. You at this point, I think Keefe is in a tough situation. He's gonna have to earn his keep as a coach, right?
Yeah.
Because at this point, you kind of roll with what you have and make some hard decisions, right? Yeah. You don't have the luxury of time anymore, or games in hand, or none of that.
Yeah.
You got to make some decisions. You got to play it through now. You don't have time anymore. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he does. The biggest thing, I mean, we've harped about this a lot, is Murray Samsonov. Samsonov also had a rough game this week as well.
Did he? It was the Islanders.
The Islanders game, yeah.
But that's gonna happen every once in a while. Yeah, I'm not worried about Samsonov.
The away games again.
Yeah, but I'm still not worried. I think Samsonov's our goalie to start, but
yeah, it definitely is, but not by. Like, if I could choose someone else, I mean, know?
Like, if you could have Sorokin, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Samsonov's a good enough starter to win a series with.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the placements, because it looks like the Leafs are going to get home ice advantage.
Boston certainly helped today.
Exactly.
And I don't say that much. They beat Tampa 2-1 in regulation. So we are 5 points up on Tampa. They're at 74 games played, and we're at 72 games played.
Yep.
So they have 8 games, we have 10 games. If they literally win out, they're at 16 points. We would have to go 500 or under to lose home ice. And that's if they win out. Mm-hmm. So it's certainly, knock on wood, looking like we should be getting home ice advantage.
Well, I'm looking at some of the teams that we're playing.
It's not necessarily the easiest schedule.
It's not easy, but it's not bad.
It's not horrible,
right?
But then again, every time we face a bad team, we fucking lose. So
Yeah. The yin and yang of these situations, eh?
we do face the Lightning in the second to last game of the season, which will be a
I am so excited for that.
very fun game. Yeah,
That's going to be that's something that I'm looking forward to.
and we
out of
also
all
have
these games. We also
another
have the
game
Bruins as well.
against the Bruins. Yeah,
Yep.
and we're honestly controlling the Panthers' destiny right now too. They're fighting for a playoff spot, and we have 2 more games against them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be an interesting end to the season. I hope we get our home ice advantage. I hope we clinch it.
We should.
Boston
we should be able to.
clinched the division today with
Yep.
their win as well,
Mhm.
which of course
Hats
like-
off.
they're like 17 points up against second place in the league.
yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's-
They're fucking insane. It's
not
honestly
funny.
ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, when you have a team that's only lost 11 times in the whole season.
Yeah. Like
Yikes.
and dude, their trade deadline was so good.
Yeah.
Like Orlov is so much better than I was expecting on their roster. It works so well. I'm so impressed with their trade deadline. And Bertuzzi and Hathaway, it's like totally Boston players right there. They're
Yeah.
gonna be a bitch in the playoffs.
they're going to be nuts.
Yeah.
But luckily for us, we're not going to have to face off against them in the first round. Nice.
We also have an update on the Matthew Nyes situation. So Minnesota won today, so he's still away. But of note is that Dubas was at the game. Now, we did have 3 prospects playing in that game, but it's interesting that Dubas was there watching it. He was in the building during that game. I think it is very likely that once Minnesota is out, Matthew Nyes is getting a contract. I don't know.
Okay, I mean that
if
was the
he's-
obvious. Give us the good details. Do you? Think
I don't.
he's
I'm not an
playing?
insider.
No. Do you think?
I was here.
I don't
I
care.
was watching with you.
Listen, give us the detail. Give us the prediction. Do you think he steps foot on the ice and that's in the playoffs, in the entirety of the playoffs? Do you think he
I
steps
don't
on the
think
ice?
so. To start, if someone
I don't care what
plays-
started. Does he step foot on
No,
the ice?
I don't think so.
Not at all.
I think he'll go to the Marlies and he'll light it up there.
Yeah.
And if he does well,
Uh-huh.
then I think he might get a call up. But I don't see him
You
taking
never
out
know.
anyone. Well, it depends on injuries as well. Like
Yeah.
on an uninjured roster, like
Oh,
our forward
yeah,
depth
obvious.
isn't that like heavy. So like I expect injuries to happen, and he'll probably get in if there is an injury. But I don't think he's in the top 12 right out the gate.
Yeah.
But it will be interesting for sure.
Definitely. I think he might have a chance if injuries occur. I mean, he has a chance. Who else do we have in the Marlies that we could bring up?
Bobby McMahon, baby.
He's been playing really, really well recently.
There's a lot. Holmberg, I think, would be the first call up.
Yep.
At least if it's a bottom 6
Yep.
situation. I think if a top 6 player gets injured, and we don't want to like move Kerfoot off the line or whatever,
Yep.
off of his third line, then we might see like a Matthew Nyes call up or something like
Okay.
that.
That's gonna be rough, eh? Putting
Yeah.
him in like that,
I
especially
mean,
in
we'll
the
see.
top 6.
We'll see. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, we'll see how his tournament goes as well. Like he's pointless right now in the 2 games he's played.
Yeah.
That's not to say he played poorly. By all accounts, I think he's played very well, at
Uh-huh.
least from what I've read.
Uh-huh.
But we'll see how he plays. Like I don't think he's just going to be like straight from the NCAA.
Drop straight into
Drop
the
straight
playoffs
into the
against the
playoffs.
Tampa.
Like it's possible. It is possible. It's happened before, but I think there will be some room in the Marlies to try him out.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a tough game. I mean, like we played really well. I can't be mad at the Leafs too much, other than getting in that hole early, and
Yeah.
even that was like I don't
If
blame Atrari for like that penalty at the start. Like
And
it was just
I
that's
think,
a hockey play.
and I think like when they got down early, I think they bounced back the best they could.
Yeah,
Right?
the moment you go down 2-0, like against a very stingy defense
Yep.
in the Carolina Hurricanes, they were really hard to play against. I mean, there's a reason they're second in the league. We got like 40 shots, a lot of them right in front of the net. We generated, what was it in expected goals? Do you have the number in front of you?
Let's see.
I think it was over 4.
4.32.
4.32
Yeah.
to their 2.78.
Yeah.
Like that is some really good play against an opposing team that is defending a lead that is very good at defending leads.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, I don't I don't blame the way the Leafs played. I thought they played very well, and they just ended up with a loss.
It was interesting because the Leafs played against Carolina almost a week ago, right? On the 17th, right? And this is a game that the Leafs won 5-2, so almost the exact opposite scoreline. And in this game, Kochetkov?
I think it's
Kochetkov? Whatever. He was leaky. I mean, he had
in
a
the
point.
Previous game.
In the previous game, he had a .79. So
that's horrible.
I know.
Yeah, he's definitely redeemed himself today.
Yeah, but exactly, like coming into this game, what would you have expected? Just throw a bunch of shots on net against a guy who got shelled his last game.
Well, I mean, he's a good goalie.
Yeah, like, but he had a bad game.
Yeah, one bad game does not mean he's a bad.
I know, but if you're Keith, you're saying try him. Yeah, try him early, right? Definitely. And they did. They got a lot of shots on, and he kind of held his own net, right?
Yeah.
But the Leafs kind of did everything that they could, in my opinion. And that third period, I think maybe in that second half, the third period, they could have tightened things up a little bit. But when you're controlling the majority of the game, and you have a slight blip here and there, you can't really blame them, right?
Yeah, the only thing that I think was really bad for the Leafs was that late goal, the fourth goal by Aho.
Yeah.
Because firstly, it was a defensive assignment missed. Secondly, it was a bad rebound to give away by Murray. Mm-hmm. And then thirdly, it was like 30 seconds after we tied it up late in the game. Yeah. Like, those three things, none of those should happen. Yeah. Like, you shouldn't, like, that's 3 negatives for the Leafs. Like, they shot themselves in the foot there. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that is going to happen sometimes. And, like, does this game affect the Leafs that much? We're probably going to be playing Tampa in the first round. We're probably, like, obviously it would have been better to secure the 2 points and be further ahead in this, home ice race. Yeah. But we have a pretty good lead. I don't think it's going to affect the team that much.
I agree.
It was just, process-wise, I think they did well. And that's what I care about right now, is process.
I completely agree. For me, like, I'm not looking at this point, since we pretty much have, we're close to clinching home ice. I'm not gonna say that we have, because we haven't, and there is a timeline somewhere in the universe where the Leafs don't. But by all intents and purposes, for the rest of the games, I don't really care if you necessarily win or lose. I want to see how you play throughout the game itself. Yeah. Are you controlling the game? What lineups are working well together? What pairings are working well together? And make a consistent roster, right? And I think the Leafs, I mean, they were controlling, right? I agree. So, in my opinion, this was a partial dub, right? Definite loss, but a dub in terms of...
They fought hard to, like, they could have given up, but, like, Matthews was a fucking workhorse. 15 shots on net. Like, there are positives all over this game.
Even Tavares, I mean,
Tavares had a bounce back.
He's been goalless for, I think this is
7 games. I
think this might be his 8th game itself. But he's been looking good.
Yeah, I think he had something like 6 or 7 shots.
Yeah, he had a couple.
Great chances.
Exactly. He's just been a little snake bitten, right?
Yeah. It's gonna happen. Trust the process. Worked for the 76ers, right?
Yeah. Totally.
I want to end on a question.
Okay.
Do you guys think it's weird to put ketchup on samosas?
Shut the hell
Harnish
up.
puts ketchup on samosas and it's disgusting.
Stop.
I don't know how he does it.
It's good.
It's horrible. It was like that much ketchup on a single samosa.
Alright, you're blowing out of proportion. Let's talk about you getting smashed in volleyball again.
Oh yeah.
Alright, let's end it off on that, alright? This was a fun game. I enjoyed it. We got to do it live together. Let's go.
Second one.
Exactly. And the Leafs are gonna have their second game on the second half of the back-to-back tomorrow against the Predators.
Who will be in net? Probably Joseph Wall. So that'll be very interesting, because I think Samsonov is still with his family, of course. Because he also just had a child. Yeah. Maybe he'll go like Fred VanVleet in the playoffs. I hope so. And just absolutely
and when he gets a question asked if you're doing this for your child, be like, hell no. Do you remember that? I don't remember. Freddie was asked, like, are you doing this? Are you playing really well for your child? And he's like, no. Something like that. It was the most, like, blunt answer ever. Hilarious. Anyways, yeah, they're going to be playing against the Predators tomorrow. We're going to see how that's going to go. That's going to be interesting. It's a 6 p.m. start time. Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit early, but fun nonetheless. I'll be here live tomorrow with Fuad. So that's going to be fun. Make sure you stay tuned for that. And yeah, thank you guys for joining us today. We had quite a bit of conversation in the chat, so thank you for messaging. And I'm seeing a lot of hate about samosas and like ketchup on samosas. God damn it, man! Why'd you do this
Because
late in
that's
the
weird.
game? But yeah, that's gonna do it here from us. Appreciate it, everyone, for coming and joining out. And make sure you like and subscribe. Stay tuned in for all the different shows that we have on SDPN, because goddamn, there's a lot of content nowadays. But yeah, my name's Harnish.
And I'm Armaan.
You can find me at Harnish_Patel98
Yeah,
on
that's
Twitter.
right. And you can find me at Armaan Pantiki on Twitter.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Peace.
Game over! Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.